Okay, this video is a brief discussion of the syllabus for CIT219 for the spring 2026 semester. Of course, CIT219 is Internet Protocols is the name of the course. I am not going to read the syllabus to you word by word. That would be really boring. But I'm going to go through and hit the highlights of it. My name is Wayne Beach. I'm your instructor for the course, and I have been teaching at BCTC and its predecessor since the spring 1999 semester, and I have taught at UK, and as far as my full-time job, I work in Central IT at the University of Kentucky. There is a more detailed bio on me, my full-time job, what I've taught at BCTC, etc., that will be posted online in the Start Here section of your Blackboard shell. The best way to contact me and the preferred way to contact me is via email to wayne.beach@kctcs.edu. The next section is some information that we have to include in the syllabus. It is the contact information for Dana Brown, who is our coordinator this semester, and for Lauren Campbell, who is our assistant dean. You probably will never need this information, but if by chance you do, there it is. What we have next is the official course description. This is a 3-credit-hour course, and if you don't know exactly what the course description is, you can read it there. To be in this class, you have to have a prerequisite of the first networking course, which is CIT160 or CIT161, or consent of the instructor. Next, we have the learning outcomes for this course. Basically, what this is if you participate in the course, you do your homeworks, you do well in the course, these are the things that you should be able to describe and or do upon finishing the course. As far as attendance and participation, this is an online class, so we're not going to have class meetings or be able to participate in discussions in the classroom, that type of thing. So in an online class, the way you show participation is by checking your email regularly, preferably at least once a day, and logging into Blackboard regularly, hopefully at least once a day, and completing assignments by the due date that is given. As far as classroom accommodations, if you feel that there is an accommodation that needs to be made in the classroom for you to be successful in the class, you do not work that out with me, the instructor. You work that out through the Student Accessibility Services office, whose contact information is at the bottom of that section. If you talk to them and they approve and determine some accommodations that need to be made in the classroom, they will send me a formal letter identifying the student and identifying what accommodations will need to be made in the classroom. As far as course materials, this first part talks about required technology and equipment. There are minimum equipment specifications and software requirements that BCTC publishes for all courses. There are links to that information there if you've not looked at it before. There is obviously an online component to this class, as this is a 100% online course. Therefore, you will need access to high-speed internet, a computer, and a webcam and microphone. Cell phones and tablets, and in some cases Chromebooks, are not going to be sufficient to access all the components in the course. So please make sure early on that you have the following requirements. Specifically for this course, you need a Windows, Mac, or Linux-based computer or VM that is capable of running Wireshark, and also a command line interface packet capture tool such as TCP dump, or in the case of Windows, its equivalent WinDump, which we will be dealing with early on, like homework 5, homework 6, I believe, or 7. You need access to Blackboard, which if you're listening to this, you obviously already do. Every student is given access to Blackboard. Also, every student is given access to a KCTCS email account. You're going to constantly be using a computer in the course. You may need a webcam and microphone if, for example, we need to meet in teams to discuss something. And you will definitely need this for your proctored exams, which will be talked about in a moment. There is one required textbook for the course. It is the TCP/IP guide. The bookstore has copies of this book available, and also you can get it online. This was published 20 years ago, but it is still relevant. I purchased my copy when I was first preparing for this course off eBay because that was the fastest way I could get a physical copy and start planning for the course. Optional textbooks. There is a textbook called the TCP/IP Tutorial and Technical Overview. There will be an electronic copy of this in the course content. But if you decide that you want a physical copy, here is a link of the only place I could find that you could buy a copy of the book. As far as the course, one of the first things you have to deal with is an attendance verification assignment. Years ago, before online courses were a thing, the no-show policy was if a student did not attend one of the first 2 course meetings, then the instructor could declare them to be a no-show and they could remove them from the course. The way things work in an online class is I give you an attendance verification assignment, which for this course is going to be homework 0. And it's basically dealing with the reading of the syllabus. This must be completed by the end of the day, January 21st. And if it is not, you will be marked as a no-show. The registrar will remove you from the course. And if you're removed as a no-show, you are not eligible to re-enroll in the class you were dropped from that same semester. So you'll have to wait till the next semester to get into the course. As far as the graded components, these are the type of assignments you will have that will count towards your final grade. You will have a lot of homeworks. These are assignments that were created by me. You will also have weekly quizzes, again created by me, that cover the previous week's materials. And as far as exams, you will have a midterm and final. Both of these will be created by me. They will be administered via Blackboard, and they will be monitored, which is what this next section primarily talks about. So to use the Respondus Lockdown browser, you need a computer with high-speed internet. You will need the Respondus Lockdown browser installed on your computer, which I have a note here. We will do that as part of a homework assignment that is due probably 3 weeks before the midterm exam. And you need a properly working webcam and microphone, which the assignment I just mentioned will verify as well. Respondus does not work on a mobile device. As far as grade calculations and midterm grades, Starting 2 or 3 years ago, BCTC started the reporting of midterm grades. Basically what that is at the midpoint of the semester, I'm asked to assign you a grade that is the grade I would give you if I had to give you a grade at that point in the semester. So that gives you some idea of how you're doing in the class and lets you judge, are you doing as well as you would like to be doing or as well as you could be doing, and you still have half a semester to deal with that. As far as your final grade, your homeworks will be 40% of your grade, your weekly quizzes will be 20%, your midterm exam will be 20%, and your final exam will be the last 20% of your grade. Once your grade is calculated using those weights, a letter grade will be assigned and recorded in PeopleSoft based on the traditional 90 to 100 as an A, 80 to 89 as a B, etc. grading scale. As far as makeup work, I expect the work to be due, or I give you a due date, I expect the work to be turned in by that due date. I give you a day the assignment is due, and then the time is 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. So several semesters around the time when COVID started, I realized that, I had more and more students that were not in Lexington or the Eastern Time Zone. So when I set something due at 11:59 p.m., if you are, for example, in Owensboro, that equates to 10:59 p.m. Central Time. So just keep that in mind if you happen not to live in the Eastern Time Zone. Withdrawal policy, with this being a 200 level course, most of you are probably familiar with this, but up to the midpoint in the semester, you can simply go in PeopleSoft and withdraw from a class. After that midpoint, you need instructor permission. I do realize there are some instructors who will say, don't waste your time or my time bothering me about withdrawing from the class, because I will not allow you to do that after the midterm or the midterm date. My policy and feeling is kind of the total opposite of that. I feel that the decision to withdraw from a class is a personal decision, and if you ask me to withdraw from the class, I will allow you to do that. We might have a discussion before I give permission just to make sure that is the right decision, and you do understand what your grade or performance currently is. But again, if you ask me to sign it, I will sign it or give my approval and allow you to withdraw from the class. Now, the important thing is that has to happen by the close of business the last day of the semester. And the last day of the semester is the Friday before finals week. If you wait till finals, which on occasion I've had people do and ask if they can withdraw, the registrar's office has always said absolutely not, you missed the deadline. So, if it gets to the point that you're thinking about dropping the class, please factor that in. Otherwise, you'll get whatever grade you earned in the course. Here's a list of some student resources that you can look through if you're not familiar with them. I left this section on embedded tutoring in the syllabus, but for the last semester or so, we have not had embedded tutoring. My understanding is that this was paid for off a grant, and that grant expired. You still have access to general CIT tutors, which are able to tutor you on CIT courses, and they are available either online or in person. Here are a few policies to point out. The first is academic integrity. Basically, this is the work should be your own. You should not plagiarize. You should not cheat. And the thing that was added a year or so ago is you should not misuse AI. Misuse of AI would be an example of blindly typing a homework question into your favorite AI, get an answer back, and without understanding or using critical thinking, or in some cases it's obvious without even reading the response, you copy and paste that into a homework assignment. That's inappropriate use of AI and something that is very, very, very easy to spot. Academic dishonesty can result in an E in the class, and worse yet is an E that cannot be removed from your transcript at all, including if you repeat the class to get, a non-E grade. This last thing here in this section is the BCTC closed campus contingency policy. Basically, this is for classes that have an on-campus component, and if we have another pandemic or something happens that they have to say, okay, don't come to class anymore, don't come to campus, your class is fully online, like they did, whenever COVID started. As an online class, this should not impact our course at all. The last thing I have is the tentative course schedule. You can look at this. This is week by week what I anticipate covering in the course. A couple of things I do want to point out here in week 8. Notice that you have your midterm exam. It will be proctored. The official date is March 2nd through March 5th, which is a Monday through Thursday. I typically open it up at least the weekend before in case students prefer to take the test on a weekend for whatever reason. And then we have spring break this semester since this is spring semester. And then down at the bottom, during finals week, again, Monday through Thursday, which will be May 4th to May 7th, that is the official date of your final exam. It will be comprehensive and it will be proctored. And like I mentioned for the midterm, I often open this exam up at least on Friday or Saturday, the weekend before finals week. So again, if you prefer to take it for whatever reason on the weekend, you can do that. So that was a really quick run through of the syllabus. If you have any questions about this, please email me and we'll get those answered.